In today's episode, we're going to learn how to create a piece of artwork and deliberately control the viewer's eyes as they look over the piece. Hey everybody, welcome back to Art by Galen. I'm Galen Eilenfeld, and today we're going to be going over how to create a composition that allows you to effectively control the viewer's eyes as they look over your art. I got the idea for this video as I was working on this commission, and I just want to give you a little bit of insight into my creative process here. So the concept was we wanted to do a, like a serpent sort of dragon coming up out of the water. Eventually there's going to be a little bit of land back behind the waterscape here, and a few things going on in the background, but the main portion of the composition is done. We've got this big wave crashing, we've got the dragon coming up out of it, the little part of his body coming out of the water here, the moon in the background, and then of course the big beam of energy coming from his mouth. And I wanted the main focal point to be this sort of energy blast that's coming out of his mouth. And there's a few ways that you can control the viewer's eyes to go directly to one spot first. The main thing being contrast. So as you look at this, you'll notice that this area here, let me make a new layer so we can draw on it. You'll notice this area here has the highest area of contrast. It goes closer to white than anywhere else in the painting, and it goes closer to black than most everywhere else in the painting. So it's got a bigger value range. And a good way to think of a value range is on a scale from 1 to 100. 1 being black and 100 being white. Like the closer to both ends, like this area here that we were first talking about, this area has a value range of 1 to 100 because it goes all the way in both directions. Whereas, like this area here has a range of about 30 to 70. It goes kind of bright but not super bright, and it goes kind of dark but nowhere near close to black. But anyhow, so the area with the highest contrast is normally where the viewer will go when they first look at a piece of artwork. And then of course they will be led by both the shape of the image, like the actual composition, and contrast from there. And so the way that I've got things laid out here is that once the viewer looks here, their eyes are going to be drawn up towards the dragon. They're going to be drawn by both the energy beam and by this other light source that's up here. And this area has a good contrast range, but not as big as here. It doesn't go all the way to white, and it doesn't quite go all the way to black. It's about a 10 to 90% contrast range instead of the 1 to 100 down here. And after the eyes have been pulled up here, they're going to follow the shape of the dragon back down. And here, it's a pretty even balance between both this side and the wave crashing up here. So your eyes are going to go whichever way the viewer is more intuitively drawn. And either way is fine because they're both going to pull you right back into the image. It's deliberate the way that it's laid out. The flow of this is forward and upward, and eventually it pulls you right back in to the image. And you'll either go back down to the light or you'll bounce over to look at the dragon again. And so it's a comfortable thing. It's not forced. There's not anything leading your eyes directly off the image, making you feel uncomfortable or wondering what else is going on. And if your eyes go this way, outward, you're going to come right back up into the head of the dragon and then eventually down back into the light. So it's a constant motion that's going to keep your eyes interested and moving around the image. Now, one of the ways you can test, because sometimes when you have a lot of color going on, it can be hard to tell. One of the ways you can test your values, if you're working in any other digital painting software, create a new layer that's any black, white, or gray color and set that layer to color mode. It'll make it very obvious where your contrast areas are. Like you'll see here, it's obvious. You'll see right here, it obviously goes very close to white and very close to black. That's the highest contrast point in the piece, is this whole area. So your eyes are naturally pulled there. Same thing, you'll notice that the second brightest area is up here where the moon is. Third being this area of the wave kind of tied right here. And then, the rest of the image. Value isn't the only way to control a viewer's eyes. Shape is one, we discussed that, the movement of the image, the actual shapes of everything. Another way to control the viewer's eyes is through contrast by focus. So like even though this here is the brightest area and the area with the biggest contrast range, you can still control it by let's apply a blur filter to this entire layer, and we'll make it sort of out of focus, right? Okay. And so now this layer is all blurred, the layer underneath it is still sharp. And I'm going to take a big soft eraser and we're going to just start erasing out this area with the dragon's face, right? Now you can already see that that is going to make your eyes pulled more towards that area. You know, you can even add some detail back in the other places, but your eyes are, even if your eyes do quickly focus over here where this light is, your eyes will refocus quickly over here because the contrast is sharper. And so like a lot of times with photographers and even in movies, you'll see that kind of depth of field effect where they'll focus on something close but the background is really blurry, or vice versa. That's that effect. It's making you look at a specific thing in the composition. Another way that we could have done it, if I wanted the attention to be more towards the dragon head without blurring everything out, is to call more contrast up to that area. So I could take the moon, for instance, and make it brighter. And that alone pulls you up there. And even though it doesn't go all the way to white, the fact that it's a bigger area and it's a big sharp contrast along the edge, that pulls your eye there first. You're going to notice that, you'll notice the dragon, and then you'll come right down here into the energy. You'll also notice that my focal points are all not precisely on the rule of thirds, but pretty close. Like the rule of thirds, I'm sure most of you probably know about it, but if you don't, it's a composition rule. It's not I mean, I wouldn't call it like you have to do this, but it's just one of those things where they say your composition is more interesting if you put your focal point either on or near these intersections. And even though I don't hit them exactly, my main focal point being the dragon head and the energy beam, and the secondary points being, you know, the tail and the wave, which are slightly further away from these centers. It does follow that composition rule. And the main thing is that makes it feel more interesting to look at, a little bit more pleasing. But yeah, so I hope that this is helpful to you, because I mean, it's a really subtle way to make your image that much more powerful. You know, and let's demonstrate this. Let's say we'll make a copy of the water. Let's say, for instance, that the water didn't have this big wave coming up. Okay. Now, you see how empty and open that area is, and it doesn't quite feel right. The whole piece feels off balance. It feels like it's really heavy on this left side. But then that's what I'm talking about. You control the viewer's eyes in the image by controlling the shape. So instead of their eyes following the horizon right off the side of the painting with the original wave, it pulls their eyes right back in and very easily allows them to look over the painting further. Not a super in-depth tutorial really, but it's definitely an effective one. Let me know what you think in the comments. I really appreciate you sticking around if you did. Next week I'm going to be at Spectrum Fantastic Art Live, not as a vendor, but just hanging out with a bunch of other fantasy and science fiction artists. It's in Kansas City. Let me know in the comments if you're going to be there. Maybe we can arrange a meetup. But I wish you the best of luck with all your future art, and if you have any questions or suggestions for future tutorials, be sure to let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to see what I can do. You know, I don't claim to know everything, but I'm happy to share what I do know. So I'll see each of you next week, and until then, take care.